he's either injured or he's not. He's either going to be able to play or he's not. You can only will yourself through so many things. If you have a calf injury, if there's a strain there, if you've ever had that type of injury, and I have, it's not going to let you do what you want to do, and it's only going to get worse if you try. So I just feel like there's a reason why it's a little bit vague, and I know last night I tried to get some details, and I got nowhere. And it was just that weird vibe sometimes when you try to get some information, and the way the door is slammed in your face, it makes you think, this isn't just because they don't like me. There's something more going on here, and I felt that last night.
Well, I'll go back to the shoulder strain that he had in training camp, Mike. It was the same thing. I'm fine, few days off, be good. 2 weeks later, he's still not throwing and not at 100%. Now, I realize that was training camp, and you're not going to force yourself to come back in and play when you don't have to, and now he's in a situation where he's going to have to be forced to play. I think the bye week comes at a perfect time. Is he going to be ready to go in 2 weeks? Who knows? I saw him limping badly as he's going up the tunnel. I saw him wearing a walking boot at the post-game press conference, and then, Mike, I saw him. Somebody had video when they got back in town, him limping out to his car, and he was not walking very well. Now, I realize he had a boot on. You're not going to walk very well when you have a boot on, but certainly didn't look anywhere close to 100%. And I saw Calvin Watkins just a few minutes ago of the Dallas Morning News tweet out, it's similar to the injury that Michael Gallup has. Michael Gallup's on injury reserve and still out. Now, he said Michael Gallup and Dak Prescott play different positions. That's true. But, Mike, you still need your right calf to plant to throw a football. And if he's not 100%, which I don't see how he's going to be 100%, this thing still could affect him 13 days from now when they go against the Vikings.
And even if you tell yourself, all I'm going to do is take the snap-in shotgun, throw it, or hit the deck and not try to run on it, it doesn't take much pushing off to aggravate it. And when you're talking about the effort you put into throwing an NFL football 40, 50 yards down the field, you do naturally put some lower body pressure into it that could aggravate it as well. So people would say, well, why would they be coy about it? Why would they be this way? You never know what moves they're trying to make to bolster the quarterback position if they think he's going to be out for a while. And if someone thinks you're desperate, it suddenly costs more than it otherwise would cost, whether you're trying to sign somebody or maybe trade for a guy who's on someone's roster. You know, if they know you're desperate, they are going to put their thumb on the scale. I remember when the Vikings were scrambling to find a replacement for Teddy Bridgewater, everybody knew the Vikings were desperate, so the price went through the roof, and it ultimately cost them a first-round pick and a fourth-round pick to get Sam Bradford, a guy the Eagles were happy to move on from because they wanted to hand the ball to Carson Wentz. So that's one reason, that's one real-world reason why the Cowboys would be discreet. I think Dak is just being stubborn. Everything's going so well. He's playing the best he ever has. He wants happy thoughts. He doesn't want to even entertain the idea that maybe he's going to be out for a game or two or who knows how long. From the Cowboys' perspective, it's about being very coy so they can get his replacement. If they need a replacement, if they need to sign somebody or trade for somebody, it's going to cost less if the world doesn't know that he's going to be out for a little while. And we're still waiting. I mean, it's the thing. Usually at some point on Monday afternoon, Monday morning, around that time, you find out the injury news, the updates, the MRI, whatever. And we haven't gotten it yet. And just the mere fact that we haven't gotten it yet makes me wonder what we're going to hear.
Well, the best news for the Cowboys, Mike, is I think they're a better team, better able to weather the storm if Dak's not 100% or if he misses a game or two. They are better able to weather that storm. Their defense obviously is way better with Trevon Diggs doing what he's doing, getting those takeaways. That he now has 7 interceptions, which is more takeaways than 20 teams have, or as many as 20 teams have. So they're doing it on defense. And also, Mike, they have the running game, and it's way better than it was last season. Their offensive line's better than it was last season. So they can weather the storm. They're way up in the NFC East. Even if he misses a week or two, they can still win these games that they have upcoming. If they don't, they're still going to win the division. They're still going to get to the playoffs. They're still going to have Dak for the postseason. This is not like last season when in week 5 he went down for the year with the season-ending injury. So all those signs are good for the Cowboys, but certainly, Mike, with the way that Dak Prescott is playing, they would rather have him in the lineup at 100% rather than starting somebody else or not having Dak at 100%.
Cooper Rush is the backup. Will Greer is the third stringer. He was cut by the Panthers earlier this year and signed by the Cowboys. And as you know, it's something that occurred to me when Mike Golick and I were talking about it this morning. The Cowboys currently have as many wins as the other three teams in the division combined. The Cowboys are going to win this division. And unlike last year, they don't have a veteran who can slip right in and play. I don't know. Maybe the Bears would want to trade him Andy Dalton back. I'm kidding. I think they would have re-signed Andy Dalton if they wanted him. But last year they had Andy Dalton, but they didn't have the help around him that they have this year.
Right.
This year they don't have the established backup, but they're going to win that division. Barring some sort of cataclysm, they're going to win the division. So they're going to be the 4 seed. They're going to have a home playoff game. They're going to play the 5 seed at home. How much higher can they really get on the ladder when you consider the Packers are 5-1, the Bucs are 5-1, and they hold a tiebreaker over the Cowboys, and the Cardinals are 6-0, and the Rams are 5-1? Are you going to get to 3, 2, or 1? I don't think you're going to. So it's better to have a fully healthy Dak Prescott when January rolls around than to spin your wheels for a spot on the playoff tree that you're probably not going to get anyway because the best teams in the NFC are really damn good this year.
Yeah, it's tough in that NFC, Mike, and that's what you're talking about. It's a great example of why maybe if he's not 100%, you rest him one more week. If you lose to the Vikings, so be it. You're still 5-2 and have a chance with some of the games you have coming up. But make sure that he's not going to further injure that calf that we think is just a strain right now. We'll see what those MRI results bring. But get him fully healthy. Be ready for the end of the season, the stretch run, and the playoffs. That's what's most important. This is a team, I think, that can get to the Super Bowl, but they need 100% Dak Prescott to do that.
Look no farther than Christian McCaffrey. It's been 24 days, 25 days actually, if my math is correct, rarely is, since he strained his hamstring against the Texans on a Thursday night. And, optimistic, won't miss much time, everything's fine, and he missed practice for a while, missed a couple games, and then he's practicing, and he's working his way back. All of a sudden, last Thursday, he doesn't practice. Uh-oh. And then the next day, he's put on injured reserve. Well, he tried to push it too hard, obviously. I mean, no one's reported this, but it's common sense. He re-injured the hamstring, and now he's out for 3 more games. Well, 2 more games after missing Sunday, a minimum of 2 more games. And at some point, when you have a soft tissue injury like that, hamstring, calf, groin, quad, you just have to shut it down. And so many of us have had those injuries not playing professional football, but we also haven't had access to the treatment mechanisms that are available for professional football players either, but it just takes time. And your biggest enemy is that stubborn desire to fight your way through it. You can't fight your way through it. You fight your way through it by not fighting at all. You show your will and your toughness and your grit by having the discipline to do nothing and let it heal. And that's the hardest thing to do, especially when, like I said, with Dak Prescott, he's playing the best he ever has in his life, and now he's got this damn calf strain that's going to derail him for a little while. Maybe. He's not going to let it. And in the immediate aftermath of the injury, the last thing he's going to do is entertain the thought that it might. I think that explains a lot of what we heard last night.
Yeah, and Mike, how much is he going to be able to practice? I would suspect that he won't practice at all this week, may not practice at all next week, which they would be comfortable sending him out on the field. But, part of what makes Dak Prescott, his ability to get outside the pocket, to avoid the pass rush, to run, and he's certainly not, I wouldn't think, going to be able to do those things. He's going to have to be a pocket passer, as you said, get rid of the ball very quickly. And that's not the Dak Prescott that we've seen this year, the one who's thrown 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and has 115 passer rating. That's not that Dak Prescott of sitting in the pocket and I'll just unload the ball very quickly. That's not who he is, and that's not why he's done all the great things that he's done this year. So you don't want that thing to linger. You don't want it to affect him. You want Dak Prescott to be Dak Prescott when he's out there.
I've never been in a walking boot for any reason. I can only imagine if you are hobbling around with that contraption on your leg, you're doing it for a reason, and it doesn't mean you're fine, and it doesn't mean you could have continued to play if the game had not ended on that play when the injury happened. So We will let you know if and when Mike McCarthy has anything to say or if any further news breaks on Dak Prescott over the course of the next hour, or technically 48 minutes, because we have talked this thing out for the beginning of the program. We have the news from Mike McCarthy, head coach of the Cowboys. MRI proves that he has a calf strain, Dak Prescott calf strain, and McCarthy said Dak is, quote, optimistic for Minnesota, end quote, whatever that means. And frankly, at this point, I don't think it means much. Let's see. He's got 13 days to get himself ready to play, and then if he does play, we have to wonder whether or not he will aggravate that injury. All right. What do you think? I'm not going to hold you to it. What's your gut feeling right now? Do you think he's going to be ready? That's a stupid question. You know what? I retract that question. Withdrawn. I'm going back to my legal days. I withdraw the question because we don't know, and there's no reason trying to guess.
We don't know.
Let's just wait and see.
No.
Let's just wait and see. He says he's optimistic. I say, okay, good. You know, the sport is premised on being optimistic about things. You never hear anybody say anything like, man, I really don't think I'm going to be able to play, or man, you know, I'm in the worst shape of my life. Everybody's always in the best shape of their life. Every surgery is a success. Every rehab's ahead of schedule. We never hear pessimism from the guys who are wired to be optimistic and confident. So I'm not surprised by any of it, Charean, and we'll just wait and see.
Yeah, first injury report they'll have to have is next Wednesday, I think, right, Mike? They don't have any injury reports on an off week. So it'll be next Wednesday when we'll find out if he practices or not. I'll be surprised if he practices at all next week. I won't be surprised if he plays, despite not being 100%. But I don't see how you get 100% with the calf strain in 13 days. But we'll see what that holds come Sunday night next week.
And I don't know what it takes to be a limited participant in practice, but I have a feeling they'll do enough that they can put him down as limited
Probably.
as opposed to not practicing at all. And then we'll just see what happens on Sunday. That game's in Minnesota, right? Because then there'll be a question of whether or not he travels, and that'll be on Saturday. He may get downgraded to out, or maybe they'll bring him along, and they'll run the facade all the way up to 90 minutes before kickoff.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.